Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst of horror movies of all time and have a lovely talk about them, and sometimes have a little chat with people about upcoming projects and interesting things. My name is Andy Conduit-Turner, and I'm joined today by two very special guests. Firstly, in no particular order, Annabella Rich, star of many films that we've talked about on the show before, including Eating Miss Campbell, friend of the show, John Crennan's absolute favourite, and many more things that we'll talk about. And also Chris Mills. Welcome both.
Hello.
Hi.
Partners in life, partners in film production. You've starred alongside each other in front of the camera. You work behind the camera together as well. How are you
Yep.
both?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Good, good. Just in the midst of our campaign and making a feature film. Just easy peasy stuff. Definitely not super, super stressful.
Yeah, I felt it's easy, right? That's why everyone in Hollywood looks so good because they have such easy lives.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 There's
He's
no Botox, there's no fine dining and excellent healthcare. It's just a stress-free existence.
Yeah, absolutely. Just that's 99% accurate, I believe. I
I think
read
so.
Well, you
somewhere.
have to believe anything you find on the internet these days. So, before we get into the work that is keeping you exceptionally busy right now, and is very exciting from everything I've seen of it so far as already, um, tell me a little bit about, your lives in front of and behind cameras. What attracted you to horror as a genre of all of the, why aren't you doing period dramas or any other third genre I could think of? What drew you into horror as fans, as creators?
You want to go first?
I don't mind. Do you want to go first?
I don't mind. Up to you.
You go first.
Okay. So horror for me is one of those mediums where you can tell such a wide variety of stories, um, and still have a real kind of like impact with the audience afterwards. In terms of that kind of like bringing everyone together, when everyone's all sat in the room and we're all watching the same film and we're all, like eating the popcorn, like, oh my God, when's it gonna come? And then boom, and you're like, you know, the shared experience, I think, is something that's really kind of like unique. But for me personally, I've done a little bit of period here and there. Nothing seems to be as much fun as horror.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the bonuses of, like creating a scene with some really good practical effects that kind of like leaves you wondering like, was that real afterwards? And you're like, that looked good. Yeah, that's one of the things, It's I've loved horror ever since I was kind of like a young child, so about kind of like 8, 9 years old. Yeah, that love's just kind of grown over time. I mean, I'm a big lover of film anyway, in quite a few genres, but horror's one that's special to us, especially because that's where I met Bella.
Yes.
Well, you see, it's a love story as well.
Just kept getting paired together, and now here we are years later,
Yeah,
living together. So
yeah,
worked nice.
yeah.
Yeah, that
How
was
about
me.
yourself?
Oh, so I guess long story short, I've always been super weird, and I just really liked horror films from a really young age. I was like, this is great. I wonder how they do that murder. I remember people used to think I was like, my parents were like, that's a bit odd. My mum loved horrors, so it was okay with her, but my dad was like, that's a bit odd. Like, why do you like all these weird Halloween films? But to be fair, I really liked the practical effects and I loved figuring out what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. I used to be like that, just like, surely, how have they done that? But yeah, just the weird kid who grew up liking horror and really enjoying making it. I think we're both the same. We've done a lot of different genres, but like
Yeah.
horror gives you the most freedom, I find, in terms of exploring characters and even with a bit of improvisation on set.
Yeah.
It tends to be a lot less stricter and you tend to be able to bring your own flair to it, which is really, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, obviously, that's what attracted you to the genre, and we have seen you produce some wonderful things already. As I already mentioned, I think, Bella, the first thing I ever saw you in was Eating Miss Campbell, possibly. Um, yeah, a great movie, and we've seen some others since. I know that both of you worked with our friend, former guest Janine Pipe, as well on her,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think it's actually her debut tonight for
It's
Child.
tonight, yeah. At time of recording, her action movie, her action short, is being screened alongside. It's double featuring with Point Break, right, this evening.
Yeah.
Like what a combo.
It's
Yeah,
really good. I don't know if you've seen it. It's
I
really
have
good.
seen it. It's excellent.
Yeah, isn't it? Um,
Yeah, big shout
yeah,
out to Janine. She's a massive support and obviously a fantastic person as
we
well.
love
So
her. She
yeah.
is.
We'll get all these things now before she hits it big time and is too busy to talk to all of us because she's such a talent, I think, and such a hard worker as well, like
Oh yeah.
all of you. But yes, so obviously all these films have all led to this production that you're working on right now, The Death of Us. I'm not going to spoil anything with synopses that I can read online. I'm sure you're well rehearsed in it now. Um, you can rock scissors paper for it. Someone tell us, what is The Death of Us going to be about? What's the synopsis?
So The Death of Us is a story about a couple who, without spoiling anything, have a traumatic event happen to them in their lives. The film follows how they come to terms with that traumatic event, how the grief left over from that event has affected them, their relationships, how they interact with the world around them, and how they move forward and combat an external force which seeks to tear them apart as well.
That's
Wonderful. Color me intrigued. Color me very
good.
intrigued.
With a lot of blood and gore, because one of our
Yes.
things for this was I think we've used it in a few of our taglines, but life isn't PG, so why should a film be
Yeah.
PG? So it's filled with a lot of blood and gore, and as you saw in our teaser footage that is being released. Oh, when are we shooting this? Tomorrow? So it's probably out when this comes out.
Yep.
We were trying out one of our rigs in it, so really excited to kind of get that visceral scenes going on.
I can reveal that I've been lucky enough to have a little preview of that. Obviously, as the guys say, by the time this comes out, it should be available on all good YouTubes or other video platforms as well. So go and check that out. Note to Ben in the future, if you can drop a link in the show notes, that would be lovely. Thanks to all the hard work, Ben. Kisses. Um, so yeah, I loved it. Like especially for a film that you're making on an independent budget, it's so nice to see that practical effect work coming in. And actually, I would say particularly for an independent film, the fact you're actually building in some really robust technology and not just absolutely not just mixing up jam in a bucket and throwing it over each other, which would be fine, but but really putting some craft into this. Has it been fun playing with all these toys and designing them?
Yeah.
100%.
Well, we wrote this film, didn't we? Where we're like, we're just gonna write it big, and we're like, man on fire, this person, exploding person. And then we're like, okay, we need to pull this down. So let's think of some cool practical effects we can mess around with at home and make look good and different.
Yeah.
So that's obviously where the scene you've seen and everyone else can see where that's come from is reducing down those big stunts. So that was a bit of a ramble there, but yeah.
No, that was perfect. You worry too much. I mean, and also absolute bravery in the scene I've already seen already, regardless of all of the horrors you're facing, standing far closer to a horse than I would have in my own life at the time as well. They're very bitey. I never trust an animal with the power to kick me hard enough to stop my heart.
What you can see is at the end they have a horse who has little bars that now come up because they've realized they can jump the stable door, and they like to do it when people approach. So that was the one we were told not to go near.
Don't go near that one. He's jumpy. You
He's
see?
really nice. It just might run through you.
Yeah.
They're very big.
Oh yeah, yeah. Luckily, Bella and I are both animal people, so we tend to get on well with animals whenever they're on set. So
What was our horse in our scene? Mary? She was really nice. She did bite occasionally, but you knew where you stood. So that was really lovely. Like it was
she liked the
lovely.
occasional nibble just to figure
Yeah, she
out.
didn't sugar it. Tells it how it is. Like a problematic auntie.
Yes, but she was actually really good considering they say never work with kids and animals. They were actually all really, really good
Yeah,
for this
they were really
shoot.
well behaved.
Like every time we wanted to reset the scene, it was like, come on then, for like strokes. Straight over.
Yeah.
Like 3 hours of it, loving life.
Oh, very tolerant then. I mean, does this answer that question? You know, you mentioned the old adage, never work with kids or animals. If you had to pick one, is it animals?
Yeah,
Yeah, work with
100%.
animals.
Animals don't cry. We'll go to the toilet outside.
Yeah, they will ruin takes with big farts though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's true. But kids can do that as well.
yes.
Wonderful. So, I mean, how much of this work, all the background production, are you taking on yourself? So you mentioned you wrote it. You're obviously in front of the camera as well, and you're doing some work behind it. Who else have you got backing you up, or are you having to change hats every few seconds and take on another role?
It's hats. It's a lot of hats. We've signed on a really good AD who's
Mhm.
going to come in and help us with our shooting schedule. And we have a really good project manager for the actual shoot. But until then, it is all of us. We also have a really good DOP who wants to, this is kind of like her narrative debut. She's a fantastic DOP.
Yeah.
So she's putting in more time into our shot list than someone else would. But it is us doing all of it. We kind of realized early on that we couldn't really afford to get a producer on board. And we have producing skills between us, so we realized we just had to combine and do a lot of learning very, very quickly. We've had so many chats with different people and big producers who've been really, really helpful, and they've offered their support as well. But the the short story of it is we're doing everything with lots of hats, but really enjoying it and really kind of falling into it as well. I thought this started off so stressful and so panicky, and like
Yeah.
once we booked the location, it was like, oh my God, we have to do
We've
this.
started now. That's it.
Exactly that.
But it's like all relaxed in really, really nicely now, and it's all coming together really well, which is
Yeah, I think
yeah,
luckily where we've done stuff before in the past and where we've worked with each other in the past, we've been able to bring those kind of like transferable skills from previous shoots and from other areas of life as well. Bring that all together, and yeah, really, really work as a team in the pre-production process
yeah,
to bring it to the point where we're like, okay, now we need to get the rest of the crew in place so that we've
yeah,
got everyone that we need. But the support's been fantastic. You know, we've been able to reach out to other filmmakers that are more experienced than we are.
yeah.
And yeah, just incredibly grateful for all the help we've received from everyone that's yeah, been
It's been really, really good. And
yeah.
even just in terms of having like producers like Andy Edwards, for example, he's
Yeah.
been great. He's gonna go over stuff, helping with even like the tax and VAT side of things. So people have been so good and so supportive in helping us take these next roles on and setting up this company. But also, I think for us, we've worked on so many sets behind the scenes as like co-producers or producers, and we've realized that a lack of preparation is where a lot of people seem
Hmm.
to stumble.
Yeah.
So we are over preparing
Yeah.
on the assumption that stuff will still go really wrong. But if you've prepared the most you can do it, like you will have a backup plan.
Yeah, and
And
that's part of life, right? And I guess as you've seen it being, a supporting function in other people's films, you know firsthand what is helpful, what is not helpful,
yes,
what is actually effective when things start going wrong, and not only the physical actions you can take, but the kind of attitude you can bring to it as well, because the big, between someone who catastrophizes when something goes wrong and people who knows, like in almost all walks of life, whether you're making a film or doing anything that's on set in an unpredictable environment, something will go wrong, something you can't predict happens, and being able to roll with that and then thinking, okay, this is what we can do now, and this is how we solve that problem. It is a great mindset to have. And you mentioned Andy, a wonderful producer of films that we've enjoyed on the show as well. Still need to get him on. We've only had him on for interviews when we bumped into him at Fright Fest, but we
he's
keep
so
threatening to get him on
nice.
for a full one.
Definitely needs to get him on for a full
I'm
one,
gonna
yeah.
pester him.
That's probably be like, Andy.
Oh,
Get off.
too fair, he's always very willing. It's our schedule that's a nightmare.
Oh, guys.
I'm sure the stars will align at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get him on because we bumped into him most years at Fright Fest. So we've seen him, a lot at the Arts Club at the end of film at the end of screening days as well. But you also mentioned something else. Obviously, you like each other enough to spend your lives together as well, and that really seems to be a center of excellence, particularly for UK independent horror makers, because obviously we have yourselves. I feel like we could put together almost like a power couples of UK independent horror. There's the two of yourselves. There's Alex and Keir from things like Kill Your Lover. Again, we met them at Fright Fest Glasgow this year. Wonderful pair, and their partnership seems to work really well together. We have Stuart and Lindsay, of course, as well from Book of Monsters and lots of other similar films as well. It seems like a real model for success in UK independent horror making. Is that something you would advocate for?
Yeah,
100%.
definitely.
Yeah.
The basis of horror is love. Like the franchise and the genre, people love horror so much, and it makes sense that couples make horror because lots of couples bond over horror. God, I'm doing well today.
It's been a long one. It's the evening, everybody.
A long year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a few months as well with kicking this into the next kind of like phase, but
Can't even speak at this point.
yeah, I mean, I think it works really well. You know, we both have a love for horror. We both have like caring kind of like personality. So you know, one of the things we always found that even before we were together, we were always supporting each other when we were on different sets, and yeah, it's just it just keeps getting better and better.
It's kind of what you need, actually, that comfort with people as well when you want to work on something which is visually quite disturbing. If you're going to be, if like, it's nice to have someone who probably doesn't mind seeing you covered in blood and sick and all other bits of viscera, because after you've had a shower, you can hang out and it'll be nice at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I
You
think
kind of chat it over, don't you? At the end, you're like, "Wow, that was crazy." Yeah.
I think that as well, you want to support each other, like, and go beyond. So, like, when those moments get really, really tough, the other person's able to kind of pick it up and go, like, "Hey, yeah, like, this is our dream. This is what we want to do. Like, you can do it. Just power through." Which is really nice. And also, the brilliance of being a couple is if you're being a dick on set or something, they can go, "Hey, boy, what are you doing?"
Yeah, you can yell at your partner without HR being involved, which actually saves you another budget or another hat for you to wear having to be an HR professional.
So make us joint HR.
I guess so.
Oh
Does that
dear.
make us both in trouble?
Yes.
Nice. I'll take that.
You're gonna have to sit down at a mediation meeting afterwards. Now, what did he say? Like, watch this video about appropriate workplace behavior. Brilliant. So the campaign is in full swing still. So bearing in mind this might take us a day or so to get out, roughly how much time have people got they could still get back and support you and get behind the film?
We're running till the very end of December, aren't we?
I think so. Yeah.
We should know this off by this
We
point.
should do.
So as the old rhyme goes, everybody, remember, the end of December. Get on board before then.
Have you found it?
I have found it.
Hey.
Yeah. So we've got 34 days left.
And we are at 57% of our first goal.
Yep. So yeah, our initial goal was £10,000. We've already secured some private investments so that we could go and get the location sorted, you know, get our crew and our cast involved and everything. Start buying the many, 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 many gallons of blood that we need.
Well, people have to generate that in their bodies and then bleed it out into the containers. So it's got to be, comes at a premium.
Exactly that. And you've got to have the good stuff as well, you know?
Yeah.
Like you said, you can't just mix up some jam and water, you know. There's a certain quality to like actual, you know, like studio quality or film quality blood.
And the blood bank gets really suspicious when you start taking more than like 4 or 5 pints.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I've cut myself. I can put it in myself. Can you just
Just need it, just one.
Do you do samples? Can I go and get some tester pots? I'm not going to advocate for doing anything like that. Please, no one put up a fake blood donation sign outside your house if you're an independent filmmaker. The NHS probably do need that slightly more than you, but there are synthetic alternatives available.
Great synthetic alternatives, and they taste great.
Dude.
Yeah. Love sugar blood.
Got a sweet tooth? Well.
Oh, it's a real problem now. I watch anything on screen and I'm like, my mouth waters because it's used to the sugar blood. And I'm like, oh dear, that person's just had their leg cut off.
No, you're like, Worryingly tasty.
Disarmingly delicious.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, you talked about not working with animals. I know that famously on lots of horror film sets with animals, I think the first Resident Evil movie, they had an issue that the dogs, the Dobermans, found their zombie makeup too delicious and they were like licking it off. But you never expect it with human actors. Now we know.
Yeah. What can we say?
Like try a bit of fake blood. It's usually edible fake blood, just to clarify, edible fake blood.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Make sure it's water-based and has that it's safe for human consumption on the packet. Please do not go and drink oil-based blood. That will not end well.
but that does taste nice, the proper one.
Mhm.
Just advocating no one to just edible blood.
Yeah.
You see, once again, putting out the pioneering work here at Horror Hangout. You come to others, they ask about your process, the time in the actor's studio. No one else has given you warnings about which bloods you can and can't eat. No one. I defy you across the internet to find anyone giving you this kind of realistic advice.
I mean, this is what we're here for, you know. Okay.
Exactly. So we know how long is left on running. What would you love to see people do to help you get this film made? And what can they get in return, apart from the obvious, knowing they've supported you and access to the film when it's released?
Oh, so obviously the basics of sharing and liking and helping us kind of spread the word out more on our film is just incredibly appreciated. And then also every donation or perk you buy helps us to make an even better, bigger film. And on top of it, when you make a donation or buy a perk, you also get put into a prize draw to win a really awesome prop that's going to be used through the film. And you'll also get a credit on the film. So I think it's called The Keeper with the prop if you win that. So you get the main
Yes.
credit with your own page, The Keeper. So you'll have a credit alongside Nicholas Vince from Hellraiser, Amber Doig Thorne from Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Marta Svetic from the Five Nights at Freddy's games,
Yep. Johnny Vivash.
Bash.
A
The
fright fest
busiest man in the busiest man in independent horror.
Yes. So that's just from winning that prize. You get entered into the draw when you buy or donate to the campaign. But also we do like special thanks, and you will get your name on the IMDb anyway with every donation and perk bought.
Yeah, we've got some other cool stuff as well. You can get some signed scripts, signed posters, signed DVDs or Blu-rays. There's also a full merch collection for this as well. So if you are someone who would prefer, to wear the kind of like the logos around and stuff, we got some beanies, we got some t-shirts. Very rarely toot my own horn, but they're pretty sweet.
Oh, there you go.
You know?
These have been really popular, but they do
Yeah.
look really awesome. So yeah, thank you to our designer on our The Death of Us logo, which is
Yes.
Rob Gilitsky. We very much appreciate him for doing
Yeah.
that for us.
Rob is an absolute legend. He
Mm.
helped us create the poster for the campaign as well. So yeah.
Amazing. And it all looks so good. Again, I remind myself when I look at it, this is an independent production. It is not this isn't a huge studio. This is people who are doing something that they love. You haven't got the board that you're having to go and square everything by. You're doing something that you
This
really
is the
love.
board. Everything gets run by Bella.
Yeah, because this is our first campaign, so we've done a lot of learning and a lot of research for it. But that's been the one bit of advice we've received, is like just to do it how we want to do it and just go full pelt with what it is and what we love about it. And hopefully that's come across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most helpful thing at this point is obviously we've said that we're going for a 10K goal. That gets us kind of like what we need to do the kind of like the basic version of the film we're
Yeah.
calling it. Like that still gets the story told. It still lets the audience see a complete project from start to finish, with some cool stuff involved as well. But we've got a stretch goal in mind. So our next stretch goal after 10 is 15, and then the next one after that is 20. So for people that do get on board and do donate, the closer we get to those milestones, the more we're able to give back in the film. So that means better quality practical effects. In the scenes where those practical effects are being used, the more money we raise, the more time we'll have to actually go and shoot multiple different angles of all the action going on.
Yeah.
And there's even a couple of scenes that won't necessarily make it to the 10K version, but if we do hit those stretch goals, It'll be a more complete film. It'll be
It'll
the
give you those opportunities to add those nice to haves in.
exactly. Yeah,
My
yeah,
person on fire.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. What is the person on fire level?
That is that 20K
That's the
level.
20K.
I
We
would
gotta have
love
fire
that.
marshal. We gotta have, like all these
Yeah.
other safety features on set and
I would
everything.
love that. I promise, as an audience member, you would love that. It'll be good.
Yeah,
It'll be good.
yeah. There is a penultimate scene that if we do hit the absolute maximum funding target, then that will be
Yes.
just. Are we allowed to swear on here?
Yes, you may.
Then it would be fucking crazy. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. We touched on practical effects before. Bella and I absolutely love the use of practical
Mhm.
effects because, like you think back to things like, The Thing, the original Alien. Those are two of my favorite horrors of all time. And one of the things that drew me to them and made me fall in love with them was the use of their practical
Yeah.
effects. Everything was so vividly kind of real. Well, maybe not so in The Thing, but like, kind of the practical effects were real. But yeah, that's one of the things that we wanted to emulate in this. We didn't just
Yeah.
want to have another film with some questionable special effects. We wanted to make it all look as
Realistic as
yeah, as
possible.
realistic as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was also one of our DOP's requirements.
yeah,
Just that, oh, got to make sure it looks realistic. It's like, so we will make sure it looks good.
yeah.
And that is a good way to approach these things, I think. Looking for realism, looking for disturbing, looking for something
Yes.
that's going to stick with someone after they've come out of the cinema. Like,
Yeah.
making them feel uncomfortable for years to come is the way to go. And I saw,
Yeah,
Bella, I
exactly.
saw in particular both of your faces, but Bella, I saw yours, your little face when we talked about the man on fire. If I could just do almost like one of those comic relief moments, I look at the camera and say, "Now, everybody, look at these faces. It is the season of giving at this time of year. If you could make these little tiny Tim-esque characters dreams come true,
We just
this
want lots of money for Christmas so we can do lots of blood and make people on fire and explode things.
And then we'll make our next film after it.
Yeah.
you see what else? And genuinely, we are looking at the festive and gift giving season. I don't know
Mm.
about you. If you're anything like me, and I know I am, it's real hard to think about what you should buy for your friends and loved ones because it's a lot of tat you can buy nowadays that won't make it through to New Year. Why not get them something that will last? Look forward to a film, get yourself something, be a part of something that has been creative. You know what? If you do this often enough and really get behind independent film projects like this, if I see you walking around in, at film festivals around the country, just out in public, because I keep a dossier of all of you, um, if I hear you describing yourself as a patron of the arts, I won't correct you. In fact, I'll agree with you and say they are, patrons of the arts. They got the receipts right here. You should give them the respect they're afforded. Um, it is a great idea to get behind independent filmmakers. On our show over here, we're not big on promoting people that we don't like. I call good old Elon a dog most weeks. But when we have wonderful people that are doing great independent films, get behind them. I get it. Money's tight, but if you look at anything you can do to support, if you can back financially, that's wonderful. If you can't, helping get the word out, because you know what is expensive in this day and age? Marketing. So anything that you can do, if you share some posts, if you tell your horror enjoying friends, whether they listen to this or not, and they should, that they might enjoy this film, get some more eyeballs on it because that helps immensely. So get behind it. Before we close, guys, because I don't want to keep you up too late when I'm sure there's another busy day on the promotion train tomorrow. Um, so some general horror I couldn't have a horror hangout catch up with someone without asking you some general questions about your horror watching experience. One, maybe a controversial one, but I promise you there are no answers. Where's your favorite place to watch a horror movie? Is it in the cinema still, or is it now in your home?
Well, that's a tough one. I think it depends on the horror.
Hmm.
I think if it's a classic that we've seen before, probably at home, I would say. like
Yeah.
90% of the time, unless it's like a special theatrical re-release or something. Then it's like, yeah, let's get down the cinema to watch, this piece of classic gold.
See, I only like I like we've got a really cool cinema around the corner from us that's really old. They've just not updated it from like the 80s and it's the old theater.
Oh, that sounds
And
great.
yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It really suits the horror vibe. And they
yeah.
also have like a little mini room with like 12 seats in it. And it's a bit dingy, but it just really adds to it. It's so cool. So that is one of my favorite places to watch our horror. I wouldn't watch anything else there. But it's so bloody good. I watched the new Halloween one there, and it was okay on the screen.
Mhm.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the film, but like it was a pretty good
You
experience.
had a
Just
nice night out. That's the main thing.
yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so bit of controversy there. Don't want to, split, don't want to, cause a rift here. But so a little bit of a break. That's fine. When you are watching a film, whether at home or away, are you a concentrate dead silence? Are you a snacks family? And if so, what snacks are we taking in?
Do you want to answer this one?
Well, I feel like if it was up to you, this would be a be quiet film. Concentrate silence with a snack.
But yeah, this is the thing. Like, I'm the kind of person like I'll be like absorbed, but nibbling.
Yeah, that's fine. So what you taking in? Are you a popcorn house? You go the sweets, or in today's lawless society that we live in, you taking a pizza in there because you can. No one's going to stop you.
I thought mine's tapasy stuff at the
Yeah.
moment, and then yours is a mix, isn't it?
Bits of bites. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm going to the actual, like, if I'm going to the cinema, then yeah, some popcorn and something sweet. So, I've got a
Hmm.
bit of both. But yeah, if we're at home, it's no holds barred. It's, like, yeah, whatever takes our fancy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Charcuterie board, you're rolling it
Yeah,
out, is
honestly,
you?
it does. It just gets a bit extreme at points. It's like, well, let's do this and this. Yeah.
Yeah, end up cooking like a 5 course, and then we're like, oh yeah, we were supposed to watch a film. Like,
Yeah. You're just
right.
sitting around the slow cooker with a dipping your spoons in your stew as you.
Yeah. 'Cause otherwise, it's like Five Guys, just like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Oh,
it's like cinema.
yeah.
That's good. Yeah, they can smell it, but like, they don't want to ask to look in your
yeah.
bag.
They're not going to shake you down. Back in an era when people did try and stop you. I spent a year or so living in Korea, the good one in the south. And my local friends there would get me to blatantly carry in their coffees and drinks there because I was, uh, you know, because I was clearly not from there, and the poor
Yeah.
ushers would feel more intimidated having to like, oh, I'm gonna have to speak to this guy in English rather than like than they would care
Yeah.
about stopping me bringing this stuff in. But now it just seems madness. I feel like they wouldn't actually stop me, but I still feel obliged to hide it anyway. Come in a
Yeah,
big
I know
coat
what
in
you
June.
mean. Yeah, old habits die hard,
Mm.
you know.
I think they do have a rule. It's no hot food, but
No
Mm,
hot food.
don't need-
So you can bring sushi.
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Enough, one of your favorites.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now I've got the big one for you then.
Okay.
So obviously we're called Horror Hangout here, so I'm putting you in the driver's seat. You've got people coming round. You're gonna have a horror film night.
Uh-huh.
Mixed crowd, so not all horror fans. You got to be able to please everybody. What you putting on? As there's two of you, you're allowed a double feature.
Barbarian.
Oh,
Barbarian,
Yeah.
nice.
choice.
Or what's it called? Fresh.
Yeah,
Oh, very nice.
good
Yeah.
shout. Ah, I'm either gonna go for a classic. This might be a bit controversial, but Jaws.
Yeah, no.
Because
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
Empire's top 50 horror movies. Jaws is right near the top. It's like number two, three.
yeah. Either that or depending on if you want to shock the company that are with you, Hereditary.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Put that on second after maybe Grandma's turned in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. Let the more sensitive folks, kind of clear the area, and then
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, good
Good
shout.
choices. Excellent choices. Right, the last and most important question I have for you is obviously the more complicated URLs and links we will put in the show notes, but for things that, people can retain in their brains and type into their phones right away, where should people follow you to keep an update on what you're up to, how the project is going, and what platforms? Because social media is not what it used to be.
Oh yeah. Do you want to go first?
On Instagram, we are 6 Foot Under Productions. You can find us on there. Otherwise, the Indiegogo, you can sign up to the updates on there, which is The Death of Us. You can literally just type in Indiegogo, The Death of Us.
Yep.
Um,
You can follow us personally as well.
Yeah.
So my handle on pretty much every form of social media is at CS Mills Official. We've usually got the links to our to our Indiegogo in our bios as well. And then your handles are?
Well, if you type in Annabella Rich, you'll definitely find me. And my ats are, I think, AnnabellaRich.actor.
Ding ding. Yeah, we have a winner.
Yes.
And
Confirmed. Validated.
If you click on my page, you'll see a lot of bloody pictures and a lot of stuff of me usually going, yay, or
yeah, you'll know you're
So-
in the right place.
Yeah.
Plus, luckily, there's not too many other Annabella Riches.
don't
So
know at this point. I haven't checked.
That's good. It's good to have a rare last name. As far as I'm aware, only 2 Conduit-Turners in the world, and I'm married to the other one. No one copy me if it's.
Oh my goodness.
keep
Pretty
going,
cool.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, Rich is one of the top names in America. They even have a scholarship for it. Unfortunately, it doesn't translate over here, but yeah.
Should claim some of that money for the project.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Oh, it's not fair. It was like I was like, I want to be rich when I was born. They're like, there you go. And I was like, no, I meant actually rich, not surname.
Sorry, you're only allowed one. You're not allowed to, no redos.
It was like the genie bottle, you make a wish and then they just do the handed one.
That Wishmaster, he's so up on semantics.
Forgot to read the fine print.
Yeah, the pettiest villain in all of horrors, the Wishmaster. Well, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us. I hope everyone listening enjoyed a little bit of that. While I am thanking both Annabella and Chris, I will also thank you for listening. I will thank Acast for hosting the show. I will thank our brand new friends and network over at Rusty Quill. Check out the rest of their work as well. While you're checking things out, check out the Indiegogo. Back it in any way you can, be it with your money or your time. The team would appreciate it very much so. And help the little Christmas wishes come true. They just want a man on fire. Is that so much to ask?
Don't you want a man on fire as well?
Yeah.
Don't we all really want a man on fire?
Exactly. We'll leave it on that note. Thank you, everybody, and good night for now. Bye
Thank
for now,
you.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye.